announces itself kindly. It shows up fast, sometimes out of nowhere. A racing heart, a tightening chest, a mind that jumps from fear to fear without rest. You try to slow down, but your breath feels shallow. You try to reason with it, but logic doesn't touch the panic. And maybe, like so many others, you wonder, why do I feel this way when nothing seems obviously wrong? Why can't I just relax? If that question sounds familiar, stay with me, because we're not here to shame your anxiety. We're here to understand it, to meet it with the kind of wisdom and compassion that transforms panic into presence. And in the next few minutes, I'll share 5 gentle but powerful shifts drawn from Buddhist teachings that you can practice anytime anxiety visits. These are not quick fixes. They are anchors. They are invitations to come home to yourself. And if this message touches you, I invite you to leave a comment below. I choose calm. Let that be your first shift. The first shift is to see anxiety not as the enemy, but as a messenger. Most people meet anxiety with resistance. We tense up, we tell it to go away. But Buddhism teaches us to approach all mental formations with curiosity, not judgment. Anxiety is not proof that you're broken. It's proof that your nervous system is alert, trying to protect you, even if it's confused about what you're protecting yourself from. So when you feel anxious, pause. Say silently, "Something in me is afraid." In that simple statement creates space between you and the emotion. You are no longer drowning in it. You are observing it. This is what Thich Nhat Hanh meant when he said, "Hello, my little fear. I see you. I will take care of you." You become the parent to your panic, the awareness that holds the fear, instead of becoming it. The second shift is to return to the breath, not as a task, but as a refuge. In anxiety, the breath becomes shallow, fast, almost hidden, but your breath is always your anchor. It is the one part of the nervous system you can consciously influence. And when you breathe deeply, slowly, with intention, you send a signal to the body: we are safe. We are here. There is no tiger chasing us. Try this now. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 4. Exhale through the mouth for 6. Do it again and again. You don't need to control your thought. Just return to the breath. The Buddha taught that awareness of breath is the foundation of mindfulness. And mindfulness is what allows you to step out of reactivity and into presence. The third shift is to feel the body. Anxiety pulls us into the mind, into worst-case scenarios, spirals, imagined futures. But your body is always now. When you bring your attention to physical sensation, you bring yourself back to reality. Feel your feet against the floor. Feel the weight of your hands. Scan from your forehead down to your toes. Notice where you're holding tension, maybe in your jaw, your shoulders, your stomach. Soften there, let go, just a little. Buddhist meditation teaches that the body is a doorway to insight. When you feel it fully, without judgment, you interrupt the cycle of anxious thinking. You re-inhabit yourself. You begin to ground. The fourth shift is to question the story. Anxiety doesn't just live in the body. It lives in the narratives we spin. Something bad is going to happen. I won't be able to handle it. I'm failing. I'm behind. But these thoughts are not facts. They are mental formations, impermanent, conditioned, sometimes helpful, but often distorted. The Buddha encouraged us to examine our thoughts with what's called right view. Not to believe everything we think, but to ask, is this true? Is this helpful? What is another way of seeing this moment? So when anxiety tells you a story, pause. Say this is one version. What else could be true? Maybe you're not in danger. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you're not behind. Maybe you're human. Maybe you're not weak. Maybe you're just in need of compassion. That reframe doesn't deny the fear. It puts it in perspective. It softens the grip. The fifth shift is to practice loving kindness, especially toward yourself. In anxiety, the inner voice often becomes cruel. What's wrong with you? Why can't you handle this? But Buddhist wisdom teaches us to respond to suffering with metta, loving kindness. You don't heal by criticizing yourself. You heal by holding yourself gently. In a moment of anxiety, place your hand on your heart. Say silently, "May I be safe. May I be calm. May I meet this moment with compassion." These are not just words. They are medicine. They begin to change the tone of your inner world. They remind your nervous system that you are not alone, that there is care available even if only from yourself, especially from yourself. When practiced consistently, these 5 shifts change how you relate to anxiety. They won't erase it, but they will change your relationship with it. And that's everything, because suffering is not just what happens, it's how we meet what happens. Buddhism calls this the second arrow. Like the first arrow is the feeling, well, the second arrow is the judgment, the resistance, the shame. And what we're doing here is dropping the second arrow. We're saying, yes, this is hard, and yes, I can hold it. Not by pretending to be fearless, but by remembering that courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to meet fear with presence. Anxiety often tells you to do more, figure it out, solve the unsolvable, but presence invites you to pause, to trust that you don't need all the answers to be okay, that you don't need to predict the future to take care of yourself in the now. The monks in the forest tradition of Buddhism live with uncertainty every day. They don't plan far ahead. They rely on offerings for food. They sleep on mats. And yet they are some of the calmest people on earth. Not because life is easy, but because they've trained the mind not to fear the unknown. They've learned to rest in the breath, in the step, in the bowl of rice, in the present moment. You can do this too. You don't need a monastery. You need intention. You need practice. You need patience. Because the mind is like a puppy. It runs, it jumps, it panics. But you can train it gently, repeatedly, with love. Each time you feel anxious, treat it not as failure but as opportunity, a chance to return, a bell of mindfulness, a call to presence. And slowly, the habits of fear begin to loosen. The mind begins to trust that it can be with discomfort and not collapse, that it can feel pain and still find peace. Sometimes anxiety is loud. Sometimes it's quiet, a background hum, a vague restlessness. But either way, the path is the same. Come back to breath, come back to body, come back to this moment, because in this moment, you are not in danger. In this moment, you are breathing. In this moment, you can soften. And that moment by moment softening is how anxiety begins to lose its grip. No emotion lasts forever, and anxiety, though it feels permanent, is no exception. It rises, it peaks, it falls. You are not the anxiety. You are the sky that holds it, Ajahn Chah said. You see the movie, but you don't jump into the screen. That is the practice, to watch the fear without becoming it, to name it, feel it, breathe with it, but not be it. And the more you do this, the more space you find, space to choose, space to be kind, space to feel safe, even when the mind says you're not. This is the way out. Not by fighting anxiety, but by befriending it. Not by fixing yourself, but by being with yourself. Not by chasing calm, but by creating the conditions for it to arise naturally. Through breath, through presence, through compassion. You don't need to be fearless. You need to be here. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be present. You don't need to know how it ends. You need to return to how it begins. With breath, with awareness, with a whisper that says this too is part of the path. Anxiety doesn't just appear in the middle of a crisis. Often, it sneaks in during the quiet moments. A flicker of doubt before a conversation. A tightening in the chest while waiting for a reply. That heavy fog in the morning when nothing has gone wrong. But something still feels off. And these are the places where the practice begins. Not just in big moments, but in the small ones. Because the way you meet those small waves determines whether they become storms or dissolve into stillness. Let's return to the first shift, seeing anxiety as a messenger, not a mistake. In your daily life, that might mean catching the signs early, noticing when your jaw clenches while reading an email, noticing when your thoughts start spinning before bed. You pause, you breathe, you ask gently, what am I afraid of right now? What is this trying to protect me from? And even if you don't have the answer, the asking matters. It turns your anxiety into a conversation, not a condemnation. It says to your inner world, I see you, I'm listening. And often, that softening begins to ease the tension all on its own. The second shift, the breath needs practice beyond panic. When you're not anxious, you can still practice breathing deeply. You can create a ritual every morning, 3 mindful breaths before you stand up. Or in the evening, 5 slow breaths before sleep. The more familiar your body becomes with deep, regulated breathing, the more likely it is to remember in moments of anxiety. You are training safety into your system. You're creating a rhythm that becomes second nature. Breath becomes your friend, not just in theory, but in your cells, your bones, your whole being. Then there's the third shift, coming back to the body. Every day, take moments to reconnect. When washing your hands, feel the water. When walking, feel your feet touch the earth. When eating, taste your food without a screen. These simple acts anchor you. They remind you that right here, right now, you are not your thoughts. You are the presence that witnesses. And presence lives in the body, not in the spinning of what-ifs, but in the firmness of the ground beneath your soles. Monks practice walking meditation for this reason. 1 slow step, 1 full breath, 1 return to now. This can be your practice. 2 walking, not to get somewhere, but to arrive where you already are. The fourth shift, questioning the story, is a quiet revolution. When anxiety arises, it's rarely about the present moment. It's about the imagined disaster just ahead. So you ask yourself, is this true? Is this fear, fact, or projection? And just as importantly, what is this story costing me? Sometimes the cost is clarity. Sometimes it's sleep. Sometimes it's peace. You don't need to fight the story. You only need to step back and see it, like watching clouds pass without naming each one. As you train the mind to pause before believing, a space opens up. And in that space, you begin to see clearly, not through the lens of fear, but through the wisdom of perspective. The fifth shift, loving kindness, becomes your foundation. Every morning, speak to yourself like you would to a frightened child. May I be safe. May I be calm. May I meet this moment with compassion. These are not just comforting words. They are neural messages. You are teaching your brain, I am safe with myself. I am held here. And that begins to undo the old conditioning. The voices of judgment and pressure start to lose their volume. In their place grows a voice that is soft, strong, steady. And that voice doesn't rush to fix you. It simply stays with you. And that, more than anything, begins to heal the anxious heart. Now let's bring these shifts into everyday moments. You're about to enter a difficult meeting. You feel your breath quicken. Your mind starts rehearsing disaster. Pause. Put one hand over your heart, one on your belly. Feel the breath. Remember the body. Say silently, it's okay to feel this. I am allowed to be here. That moment of self-permission dismantles the anxiety spiral. You haven't erased the fear. You've made space for it. And fear, when given space, often softens. Or maybe you're lying awake at night, thoughts racing, a mistake you made, a future you can't control. You practice the fourth shift. You say, these are thoughts, not facts. You breathe. You whisper your loving kindness phrases. And then, instead of solving your life in your head, you put a hand on your chest and listen to its rhythm. You trust that rest is more healing than overthinking. that the mind will sort itself out better with softness than with struggle. These shifts are not about becoming someone new. They are about remembering who you are beneath anxiety. Not a person broken by fear, but a person learning how to live beside it without losing themselves. Buddhism doesn't ask us to banish difficult emotions. It asks us to meet them with presence, to stay when we want to run, to open when we want to close, to listen when we want to fight. The Buddha himself faced fear, faced temptation, faced the demons of the mind beneath the Bodhi tree. And he didn't defeat them by force. He watched them. He named them. He said, "I see you, Mara." And in that act of awareness, their power dissolved. You can do the same. Each time anxiety visits, say, "I see you. You are welcome here. But I do not need to become you." And then return to breath, return to body, return to kindness, return to truth. Anxiety wants urgency, but your healing requires slowness. The path of peace is not rushed. It is walked one breath at a time, one pause at a time, one kind thought at a time. And if you stumble, that's okay. That's part of the path. 2. What matters is that you return, again and again. Return without shame. Return with the quiet strength of someone who is learning not to run from their mind, but to walk with it gently toward the heart. And over time, something changes. The waves still come, but you no longer fear the water. You trust your ability to float, to breathe, to let go. You realize that anxiety is not the problem. It's the doorway, and presence is the key. So in the moments that feel too much, do this. Pause. Breathe. Feel. Question. Love. These are not grand gestures. They are small choices, and they change everything. Because when you meet anxiety with presence, it becomes less of a threat and more of a teacher. When you breathe into the fear, it begins to release its grip. When you speak kindly to your own heart, the storm inside begins to settle. And when you remember that you are not your thoughts, you stop drowning in them. You are the awareness beneath the noise. You are the calm beneath the panic. You are the sky, not the weather. You are the one who returns again and again to the breath, to the body, to the now. And in that return, you find peace. Not because the world is different, but because you are no longer hiding from it. You are here. You are breathing. You are enough, exactly as you are.